Hey up everybody, welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Donostia San Sebastian. This has been slightly altered from last year. There's a different climb in the finale which has got like a 27% gradient in the end. It's pretty disgusting. The climbs are all pretty much similar. They all range, from kind of 5% up to like 10% average gradient, so it's definitely one for the punchers stroke climbers. So and also it's important to note that it's like 230 something kilometers, so it's a really long race. It's going to be a big day in the saddle. But looking at the rider prices, Roglic isn't actually in the race. This is just I'm just recording this kind of prior to his removal. I guess George will get on that. So Roglic isn't the one, but I wasn't really going to recommend him too much anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Hershey, obviously a little spoiler, obviously you can see he's in my team at the moment. Hershey's just been looking really good recently. Look to his Czech Tour, the climbing performances that he did there, dropping quite a lot of serious climbers. I think that Hershey's looking in really good form. The descent down to the finish as well, obviously very suitable for Hershey because he's a fantastic descender. And looking at the whole UAE Team Emirates outfit for this race, I know they've also got guys like Del Toro in there, but I think that Hershey is more of a tried and tested option for them. He will be the most expensive rider, and I think that Hershey is a very safe option for a lot of people to be going with. I think Alaphilippe is very much like Hershey. He's a very similar rider type. He's got all the same qualities as Hershey. They are almost like a copy and paste of each other, you could say. I'd say that Hershey, based on recent results, is looking in slightly better form, based upon the Czech Tour mainly. Alaphilippe did beat him in the Olympics road race, but there's a lot of kind of strategy that goes into the road race, like lots of kind of more team strategy going on, so I'm not sure how much to read into that. But Alaphilippe's looking in great form, and I think that he is also a really good pick. Then you get some ones like Asgreen, Benoit. Who is going to pick Fabio Jakobsen? Like, please don't. If you're wanting just to commit like team suicide for this event, pick Jakobsen. Benoit actually has gone well in this race in the past, but I think the steeper final climb doesn't suit him. Maybe they might go for Sepp Kuss instead, but I'd say that Benoit is definitely one who usually does quite well here, so definitely watch out for him and don't just completely write him off. I'd say that Alaphilippe and him are my favourites from this 22 credit bracket. Paulus has obviously won this race in the past, that year which Mohoric almost won. So Paulus is a decent option, but they've got Carapaz in here, and I'd say that based on the Tour de France, that Carapaz is going to be the guy who's come out of that better than Paulus, although it depends what kind of, post-tour celebration, obviously. Maybe some people have gone a little bit harder on the celebrations than others, so we'll wait and see. And Van Baal isn't a good option either. 20 credit riders, for me, I really like Simon Yates for this. He was another one kind of similar to Carapaz, who had a good resurgence in that final week of the Tour. And I think it's those sorts of riders who usually, because they've ended the Tour better, they're carrying their form a bit better further forwards, if that makes sense, towards the next race. And I think that San Sebastian, quite a big gap this year between the Tour and San Sebastian, so we'll wait and see. But Simon Yates has done pretty decently in this race in the past, so I think that he is going to be a good choice. Woods, with his new national champ bands, would be quite an interesting option as well. He was quite active in the road race in the Olympics, so I think that he's also quite good. Bajoli, I haven't seen enough of him to really be confident in him as a choice. And Arambarou, I think that this parkour is probably just a bit too tough for him. I'd probably say there are other climber style riders on Movistar who I'd favour over Arambarou. So Yates really is the one I'm looking at there. 18 credit riders, Barguil. Bilbao has done well in this race in the past. Obviously, what was he, second last year, just behind Evenepoel, but he left the Tour because of illness, and I'm not sure how he's going after that. Haven't really seen any press releases from Bahrain regarding how he's doing in his recovery, so not sure about that. Carapaz is a good option, absolutely. Ended the Tour in good nick, and I think that he will be looking to do quite well in this race. After all, he missed out on the Olympics. Navarez was selected instead of him. Ciccone, he was good in the Tour. Is he going to go well here? In theory, he is going to be the leader for Lidl Trek, so I've got no massive problems with Ciccone. It's just that usually in one-day races he's always quite hard to gauge, and I would say that you've got other options in Carapaz, and also I'd say Mikael Landa would be better options than Ciccone, just based on, I don't know, more of like a gut feel, but Landa was very strong during the Tour. I'd say that him and Carapaz are really good choices, like very, very safe and secure. I'd say that Ciccone just has a bit more risk in there. Kron, I haven't seen enough of him recently. Like, last we saw him was really in the Tour de Wallonie, and he wasn't that great there. I think he crashed there as well. Sheffield and Sivakov this race, I don't think he's really suited towards. Sivakov has done well in this race in the past. I think it was a couple of years ago he finished on the podium, but I just feel that they will go with Hershey as their man, or maybe even Del Toro. Although Del Toro, obviously there'll be a lot of hype around him as, obviously, you know, the big Neo-Pro performer of the year, but you also have to remember that Del Toro, yes, he's done good in one-day races, but this is going to be like a big ask, 230 odd kilometers. It's going to be a long day of racing, and I haven't seen Del Toro do a race of that distance before, and it's not something which every rider takes to, even like the sensational talent. So just a slight airing of caution there for Del Toro, but in theory he is a great rider, great prospect, and certainly one I'm looking towards for the Vuelta a España, that's for sure. Other options, I mean, you got Bardet maybe, but he hasn't really been like firing on all cylinders in my opinion. Costa, no. I think they'd go for Carapaz or Paulus before him. Tobias Harland-Johannesson could do a top 10 performance, but again, are there better options? Would somebody like Danny Martinez, now that Primoz Roglic isn't in the race? Martinez is now all of a sudden a much better choice at 16 credits. He has done good in one-day races in the past, and I think that Martinez could certainly be a bit of a name which maybe people aren't thinking of too quickly to put onto their teams, and at 16 credits, that's quite good value. And Van Hills as well. Obviously, he's been the man who's been racking up one-day performance results this year, and I think that he could be set to do even more of that. He left the Tour a bit early, so it's possible that he's had a little bit more prep time to really kind of get in good shape for San Sebastian. 14 credit riders, I like Boitrago. He was top 20 at the road race, and obviously that was a really long race, so I reckon he'll be fine here. And I think that Bahrain would be looking to him as a leader. I think Boitrago could be a really good choice. I'd say for a top 15, maybe a top 10. Gross Scharkner, I think he'll be a domestique. Kuss could be very good, considering that Visma Leasebike don't seem to have anybody else other than Benoit. And Kuss obviously won that stage at Vuelta Burgos, stage 3. So I think that Kuss is looking in good condition, and therefore I think that he will be a good choice, especially with the steeper gradients. It's going to be a really good option. Navarez, I don't know, he's going to UAE next year. Does this course really suit him? I'm not really sure if it does. I think the climbs are maybe a bit too long and a bit too steep. Van Zevenant will be a domestique. Velasco, maybe not. I wouldn't go with Velasco sooner than I'd go with like Boitrago or Kuss, pretty much. 12 credit riders. Champussin was good in the Arctic race of Norway, so that's certainly an option. Hindley, again, with Roglic out, Hindley's very good. Lenny Martinez, a bit hot and cold, especially in days where there's lots of like up and downs. So Martinez is a bit of a question mark. He's had a very strong start to the year, but it's kind of tailed off a little bit, so I'm not massively confident in him, but why not? He will probably be the leader here. Ben O'Connor is the leader for Decathlon, so a little bit of a cheaper option for somebody who's going to be a protected rider. 10 credit riders, again, Aliotti. I'm not sure who Bora will go with, but it'll be Martinez, Aliotti or Hindley, so you could certainly go with him. George Bennett, I expect to be the leader for Israel Premier Tech, or maybe they might go with Riccitello. There's Rubio, who could be a decent choice for Movistar, because I'm not sure about Arambarou, so I reckon Rubio's their best climber to be going here, but he's not well renowned for being a good one-day racer, so that's certainly not in his favour. Van Aertvelt has been very good this year in one-day races, even in the Belgian one-day race, the Belgian national champs. That was 220k, and Van Aertvelt was top 10 there after leading out Arnaud Delis, and that was on a course which was pretty flat, so I think Van Aertvelt could be a sneaky option, but he may also just work for Van Hills, so I'm not full of confidence that he will be their guy, but I think at 10 credits it could be worth the risk. Vermaak been looking strong as well recently, but are the climbs a little bit too hard for him? I reckon so, but I reckon he might launch a bit of a surprise. And then the 8 credit riders, you've got Nicola Conci, obviously the rider who was very well known for being very good during the Giro d'Italia. There's also Riccatello, very good during Romandy, top 10 there, but very similar to Del Toro. He hasn't really done races of this distance before. He's not a well-renowned one-day racer, so therefore it's a bit of a risk, but it could be a risk worth taking. And Pelayo Sanchez, I've got a bit of a gut feeling that Sanchez could be good. Obviously a stage winner at the Giro, good one-day racer, climbed very well at the Tour de Suisse, so part of me's feeling a little bit confident about Pelayo Sanchez. I think that with Movistar lacking a real big leader, I reckon he could be given a little bit of freedom. And then into the 6 credit riders, there's not too much to be shouting about here. Johan Bou, possibly. He did alright during the recent Volta Portugal. Jefferson Alvaro Cepeda, very good during Volta Burgos, so that's certainly a good one. Steph Kras, a great climber for Total Energies, so that's certainly one to be looking at. So that's 3 that you can have a pretty decent, shot of getting some points with. Definitely like a top 20 potential. Jordan Jaja is also pretty decent. Probably a good climber for Total Energies. Bit of a puncher, but I reckon they go for Steph Kras. Lipovitz isn't in the race, so don't pick him. He's been swapped out pretty recently. Remy Rojas, good climber for Groupama, but he might just be working for Lenny Martinez. And that's about it for the 6 credits. The 4 credit riders, you're really looking at maybe assist points with somebody like Beloki for Carapaz, or De Pretto for Simon Yates, or I don't know, just assist points basically on anybody. I don't think any one of these is going to get particularly great point rankings, from actually finishing inside the top 30. Hugo Tormia possibly like an absolute push. Thomas Silva possibly. I had him in my fantasy team during the some Asian race recently. That was he was a pretty good point scorer there. But honestly, the 4 credits aren't that great. Maybe Baudin. I reckon they'll be working for O'Connor, but Baudin was very good in quite a few one-day races this year, so maybe he could have his own freedom there. This is my team at the moment. It's got pretty much everybody here I think could finish inside the top 15, so I've gone for quite a lot of depth. The thing which I might change is I might go, instead of Danny Martinez, I might go with Alaphilippe, but then I have to pick a 4 credit rider, and I'm not a massive fan of that, to be honest. I just don't think that any of these are going to get too many points. Like Baudin, if he gets his own freedom, might be decent, but part of me also favours, now that Roglic has left, the Danny Martinez pick, and then I could go with Van Aertvelt, or I might go with I could go with Rubio if I think that he's going to be the leader. I could also go with George Bennett as well, possibly. So those are kind of the options which I'm going with. I could also not go with Martinez, and I could go with Van Hills or something. So those are kind of the options which I'm thinking of. If you've got any opinions on my deliberation, then be sure to put that in the comments, as well as your own teams, and we'll see if anybody can get the winning team this time round. And of course, all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video, which should be the Tour of Poland. That'll be out in the next few days. Salut.